I'm Jane Kolodinsky, and I am the chair of the Department of Community Development and Applied Economics. And we're holding this virtual CDAE kind of town meeting to discuss the offerings that we have in our department, including our 3 undergraduate majors, our minors, and a new initiative that is right now at the faculty senate level for a new major. So we have majors in community entrepreneurship, community and international development, and public communication with 3 concentrations. Those are community media and journalism, communication design, and strategic communication. And our newest, hopefully going to be approved for fall 2021, will be a major in community-centered design. So I'm just here to welcome you, to say that in CDAE, we put the tools in your toolbox to help solve real problems, and we don't just study, we do. So we hope that you will consider our classes first, just try us out, and maybe consider majoring in our department. So Dan Kirk is going to be the MC of this hour, and we have several faculty and student speakers, and then we'll have time for you to ask questions. So welcome, everybody.
Thanks. Thank you, Jane. So hi, everyone. My name is Dan Kirk. I am an alum of the MS program, as a few of the faculty who are going to be speaking with us today are as well. I'm a staff advisor and an academic services professional in the department. So if you are interested in joining the department, either myself or Ali Saharnis, who's also on the call, are available to, we meet with all of our transfer students to make sure that you are on the right path, you have a plan, that the classes you've taken are transferring into the right requirements in our programs, and to answer any questions that you might have about the program. So if you want to just shoot either of us a message in Teams or via email, we can send you the link to set up a meeting with us via Teams or the phone to go through whatever program you're interested in CDAE. So our first speaker for this event will be Kelly Hamshaw, and I'm going to turn it over to Kelly to talk a little bit about her work, how she got to CDAE, and what the students might experience in the classes that she teaches.
Thanks, Dan, and good morning to everybody. It's great to be with you all virtually from my home office here in Bristol, Vermont, so about 45 minutes south of Burlington in Addison County. So how I got to CDAE is a really long story, because I came to UVM as an undergraduate in 2002 as a natural resources major, and actually found my way through CDAE 002, so World Food Population Sustainable Development, and found myself really, really just immersed in the applied social science around why do humans act the way we do, and how that relates with the environment, and what our long-term sustainability looks like. And so from that course, I ended up picking up a CID minor and working as a teaching assistant within the department, which then led to me coming back for my master's degree after a short year back home in New Hampshire, helping with a family business. Coming back for my master's, I worked on issues around affordable housing and looking at the resilience of mobile home park communities, which led to a longer research project with Dan Baker, a fellow faculty member here on the department, looking at mobile home parks in the recovery after Tropical Storm Irene hit Vermont in 2011, so almost 10 years ago now. And then that led to work in the Center for Rural Studies, which is another organization that's affiliated with our department, which I continue to work with today, and try to engage students in as much real-world research that we do through that entity across Vermont. So one of the classes I have the privilege of teaching is in the CDAE core courses. So you hear us talk about our core courses in terms of courses that all 3 of our majors take. So I teach CDAE 102, Sustainable Community Development, and we focus on local efforts in terms of how communities function. We study the 7 community capitals framework, and we dig into understanding kind of what makes the places that we love so much, where we live, work, and play. And we think about questions around sustainability and resilience and how to promote overall community well-being. In addition to 102, I often teach a housing seminar, so CDAE 251. So we look at the role that housing plays in our lives and how that intersects with community development. Students get to choose a research question and research and conduct a literature review. all semester long. And so we work on refining those, and we have a research showcase at the end of the semester, and that's really fun. But the one that is, like, I guess the course that's mostly on my mind right now, Autumn and Chloe, who are here, are both in the course right now. But I'm teaching in a remote way our local community initiatives course. And so our students are working with the Agency of Commerce and Community Development, so that's a state government entity, to research how our 23 designated downtowns across the state, so from Bennington to Brattleboro to Newport, St. Johnsbury, and back over to Burlington, how they're responding to COVID-19 in terms of impacts on local businesses and how placemaking efforts are helping facilitate community connection in a socially distant way. And so these students are actually calling up our downtown leaders, community volunteers, and business owners to capture these stories of resilience and adaptation, to really kind of celebrate the work that's been done and also identify opportunities to continue to advocate for the well-being of these communities as we go into the winter months and to the next legislative session. So we're really excited about that work. And Dan, I think I maybe one 30-second blurb to go.
Sure.
But one of the fun stories that came out of that work was actually our students got to interview a former student of mine who served as a CDAE 102 TA, who's now the Economic Development Director for the town of Waterbury. And so she got to connect with our current students and really talk about kind of their mutual love of CDAE, and really talk about how she's been putting all the courses that she took during her time with us into use to improve the economic kind of outcomes and vitality for the town of Waterbury. So really great to see that come full circle. So with that, I'll hand it back to you, Dan.
Thanks, Kelly. So Kelly teaches within the major in our program, that's community and international development. And one thing that I just heard you speak a lot about, and then I know about Kelly's work, is like, and one thing that CDAE is great at is responsive and adaptive coursework to what's facing Vermonters. So when you spoke about Irene, that was something that was very exactly responsive in the moment. We put together a class, and you were able to address a real need facing Waterbury at that time in real time with the community. So that's something I want to highlight. And also just generally, folks, if you have questions, if you're an attendee to this event and you have questions, you can either hold them till the end and then turn on your mic and or camera, or just drop them right into the chat of the Microsoft Teams meeting, and we can start to sort of triage those. So next up in our community entrepreneurship program is Trisha Schrum.
Hello, my name is Trisha Schrum. I'm in my third year here at CDAE, and it's just been a wonderful department. It's really community oriented, really creative and innovative. It's different than any other department that I've ever even seen, and in all the good ways. So my background is pretty varied. I majored in undergrad as to prepare to become a natural scientist. So I studied ecology and evolutionary biology and environmental science. And then I fell in love with economics and started studying economics as a way to address environmental problems. And then I got my undergrad at the University of Kansas, where I'm from. And then I went for my master's at the Yale School of the Environment. And then I went to further my study of economics and public policy and kind of looking at the applications by getting my PhD at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. And so with that background, I take a real holistic view of environmental issues and look at how, sustainability, and, to echo what Kelly said, like how people make decisions that relate to the environment, and just trying to understand how humans are placed within the, social and natural world, to try to make the world a better place, as we would all like to do. So in that path, I've done a lot of various things. One major aspect of my background is that I founded a climate change nonprofit called Dear Tomorrow. And this has been a project that's about 5 years old now, and is still continuing with a full-time director that now I just kind of take an advisory role on that. But it's all about getting people to using behavioral science to get to change the conversation on climate change in a way that makes people overcome all these barriers that we have because of the way our brains work and the way our society works. So it gets people to think about climate change as a personal issue rather than just like this kind of abstract thing that's happening in the future. So I draw from a lot of that work. And as a professor here, because I teach community entrepreneurship. So I teach introduction to community entrepreneurship and strategic planning in community entrepreneurship. And I'm also developing a course on behavioral economics, which I'm really excited to roll out soon. So what we do in the entrepreneurship courses is a little bit different of a flavor than like a regular business school type entrepreneurship. It's focused on thinking about how do we become change makers and how do we recognize problems and come up with creative solutions to problems that utilize the tools that we have at hand and the resources that we can gather to pull together something new and something different that can improve either like our local community right around us or like the world or our global community or our, the community online, wherever it is. It's all about thinking about how do we develop, how do we bring together people, bring together innovation to make change for businesses, for, nonprofits, for government, for just people's lives. So that's just kind of a, an overall approach to how I take, of what I take to my classes. Let's see. That's obviously within the community entrepreneurship major. And and one thing that's really cool about the class is that's super unique about introduction to community entrepreneurship is that we do, we take this idea, a lot of people talk about, learning by doing. Well, CDAE takes that really seriously. Like we really get involved and we're focused on how do we create real things in the world and learn how to do that right inside your classes. So with Introduction to Community Entrepreneurship, we break up into teams and then students actually start a business in the class that then they run either on campus or this semester we're running our businesses online. So they learn we learn about a marketing plan. We learn about how to come up with a product that will appeal to your customers and how to think about who you're serving and what what kind of value you're adding for them. And then you actually do it instead of taking a test on it. You actually get into a group and you make it happen. And it's, especially for entrepreneurship, it's the best way to learn. And people come out of it with a really strong feeling of what it's like to run a business. And they also raise thousands of dollars for local nonprofits with these businesses and with these real sales on campus and beyond. So it's a really cool experience. I love teaching that class, and it's something that whether or not you're a community entrepreneurship major or not, you should you'll really enjoy that class and get something out of it. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Is there anything else I need to cover, Dan? That was
perfect, and it's a good segue into it calls back to what Jane was saying at the beginning of the meeting with putting tools in your toolbox and learning in an applied setting. It's all about, in CDAE, it's all about that applied real world, how does this work? How can this work? And I took 166 years ago, and I remember the spectrum of experiences from success to failure and how beneficial the safety of an educational environment to have that flexibility to not, if you fail, you learn perhaps more, who knows, but you learn immensely without the consequence of defaulting on a loan or something like that.
Yeah.
So really powerful way to take the context of the world and experience it in a really safe but educational, nurturing environment to start to hone your skills and put those tools in your toolbox. And a good segue too, you were talking about behavioral economics, and with entrepreneurship also comes marketing and communication. So next up is Matt Dugan, one of our professors in public communication, who has a lot to talk about around behavioral change and marketing and outreach. So that's a great segue to Matt. So I'll turn it over to you now, Matt.
Super. Well, hey there, everybody. It's really nice to be here, and it's always really nice to talk about CDAE. I little background, I live in Waterbury, and when I'm not teaching, you're usually going to find me on a trail somewhere. I'm a pretty happy distance runner, Nordic and backcountry skier and snowshoe runner. And once I discovered Vermont in my early 20s, I didn't want to leave. So I built a couple businesses here. I worked as an entrepreneur for almost 30 years. And I got to tell you, I was just delighted to come to CDAE 2 years ago. This is my third year, like Tricia, because I saw that CDAE was doing the exact same things that I was doing in the professional world. And honestly, that really blew me away, which is basically, where my clients would hire me and my team to solve problems. And that's simple. It's really that simple. So if you're my student, I think about you a lot. And here's how I do it. I teach in the PCOM side of things, public communication. And I spend my time thinking about where my students are the first moment they walk into the classroom, what they're interested in, where they're going, and where they might fit into this world of this huge world of public communication that's really full of really amazing opportunities. It's the world where I spent my career first as a reporter, then a copywriter, creative director, multimedia producer, researcher, an entrepreneur, of course, producing communication projects for clients that were sometimes large, sometimes small, nonprofit, government, and for-profit companies. So I have a kind of Bible that I refer to in all my classes, and it's called the Future of Jobs Report. And knowing I was going to be talking today, I took a look and I said, oh, I wonder if it's been updated. Well, it was updated just in October. So we just got their latest report. It's published by the World Economic Forum. And I'm going to give you a really quick quote from there. And it reads, the top skills and skill groups which employers see as rising in prominence include critical thinking and analysis, problem solving, and skills in self-management, such as active learning, resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility. So it's my Bible, it's my blueprint too. I design all my classes around these ideas. I want to match student skills with the modern job market. It's really that simple. And the biggest secret, I'll give you the biggest secret in the world. I'll give it away for free. The biggest thing that an employer is thinking about when they're thinking about hiring you, they just want to know if you can solve a problem. And I tell my students, solving problems is really fun. It's complex, it's funky, it's like wrestling with a greased octopus, but it's fun. I also quote to my students a lot of the time, Ben Franklin. He said, tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn. So I involve students by putting their hands on the controls. And the goal of that is to come up with a professional grade portfolio item that will get students at some point in their lives in front of someone like me in my former life, where we're sitting across the desk from each other and they're kind of blowing me away with their portfolio by showing me that they have the most important thing that I'm looking for, which is that ability to solve problems. And I also involve students in real world projects that I still get involved with, both inside and outside these walls. So I've worked with students on pretty varied projects. We wrapped up one that had to do with COVID communication. Well, we didn't wrap it up. I should say we're in the process of wrapping up stage one, COVID communication to immigrant communities. A couple of students over the summer helped me create an outreach program to boost rates of HPV vaccination across northern New England. And a couple other students worked on an independent study a year ago to provide the Vermont State Police with a blueprint for recruiting the kinds of officers they want to see in their future ranks. And these are opportunities that do sometimes turn into post-graduation jobs. That's actually happening for one of my former students and TAs from last year. Recent graduate, it's happening right now for her. So I'm always delighted to talk to students who are considering a CDAE major. So please consider my digital door always open, and thank you.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Yeah. So again, we're hearing a lot of threads in what our faculty bring to the classroom and to the dynamic nature of the community that is CDAE. I heard Matt say in his career path he was a reporter, so that's a nice segue to Ben, who's up next as a journalist. I also just wanted to note the last two faculty members have also called into the conversation their like businesses, nonprofits, and organizations that they are a part of building, maintaining, or have already built and sort of in a complete cycle as practitioners. So that's one thing our department does and looks to. And Kelly too, Vermont is our laboratory, and that means both the physical space and the community culture, and also the resources that are our first degree connections within, the Vermont populace. So we use, Vermont is the place where we connect with both the practical nature of where we're working, but also with whom we work. So when we talk about our adjunct faculty beyond the core faculty we're working with here today, and there's more faculty than are here on this meeting, but a lot of the classes that we teach are practitioners in the community who come in and teach the skills in a very sort of precise and directed way within our greater programming. So we rely on the expertise of our faculty and really rely on the expertise of Vermonters as our adjunct professors to really round out the course offerings and the skills and the perspectives we can bring. So as I said, this is a good shift into our journalism sector of our PCOM program, and I'll turn it over to Ben to talk more about that.
Great. Thanks so much, Dan. Thanks, everyone. It's great to hear what everybody else is up to. And I've learned a lot from my colleagues. I've been here, this is my second year. It's nice to see some of my students. I recognize the names Gabby, Julia, Kat. Thanks for coming today. So I come to CDAE as a journalist. I've worked in Latin America for much of the last 15 years, focusing on social movements, politics, human rights, as well as a focus in the U.S. But I've worked as a journalist for many years, written a few books on Bolivian indigenous movements and politics and protest movements around the region. And I moved into getting my PhD at McGill University, focusing on how indigenous movements in Bolivia have used oral history and historical consciousness as a way to orient their struggles to gain political power, win rights. And one of the things I love about CDAE, as someone who's come into the department drawing from a lot of different disciplines, so journalism, social sciences, history, is that the department is truly transdisciplinary. And so is the world. So the tools that we teach, that we use in our classroom, are really reflecting how people solve problems in the wider world. And that's great to use that in research and in the classroom. And it's one of the things that really excites me about the department. Personally, I live here in Burlington. I love the state of Vermont. I love Burlington. As Dan said, it's great to be able to draw from the wider community here and connect students with some of the awesome things that are happening in media, community organizing, nonprofits. I love to do that in the classroom. I live here with my family. I have 2 young kids. They keep me busy. My youngest daughter just turned 3 on Friday, so that was exciting. A weekend of various festivities. So I bring my work in journalism, history, social change to the classroom. I also just love working with students at whatever skill level you're at, to help you produce journalism, writing, multimedia stuff. I love learning from you and just working with you to produce quality stuff and help see that transformation happen over the course of the semester. So I do that in a lot of different classes in different ways. I teach in public communication. By the way, teach courses in public communication. Some students that are here today know me from Foundations of PCOM, that's 024. It's a great class that is all about teaching applicable skills. A lot of the theories and knowledge we teach can be applied immediately in people's everyday lives, collaborating on projects, producing media, thinking strategically about how to communicate with the public, media literacy, and a lot of it ties directly into the classes that you've heard about today. So Matt Dugan's classes on marketing. I hear a lot about 002 that Kelly mentioned. Some of my students take 002 before 024 this semester, so we talk about some cross-pollination, which is always great to hear. Another class that I teach is strategic writing, CDAE 120. And that's a class that's really designed to teach helpful professional writing skills. So I teach people how to write news articles, conduct interviews, but also how to write great cover letters, profile articles, press releases, social media writing. And this, again, feeds into directly a lot of what other classes we offer in CDAE. Another class that I teach is activist journalism. This draws directly from my own expertise and experience. And this is a class about teaching you skills and tools to create journalism for social change, depending on what you're passionate about, what issues you care about. This is a class that will help you communicate and create social change through journalism, conduct interviews, pitch a story, engage with, and change the conversation around a particular topic that you're interested in. And finally, I teach a class, the Public Communication Capstone course, which is a great class that focuses on, it operates as the capstone to your education in CDAE and PCOM, and it connects you with community partners, largely local community partners, and it's a semester-long service learning project where you're organized into groups and you focus on communication strategy, marketing, journalism. And I want to talk about a couple of different projects we're working on this semester. One is a collaboration with the Burlington Media Factory, where students are working on how to promote different community-created films and podcasts. Another is on working with an organization that Professor Tricia Shrum founded, Dear Tomorrow, which is working with that organization around climate change and how they're helping that organization reformat and kind of streamline some of their communication and presentation to the public. Some of my students are working with Migrant Justice this semester to help them promote the work they're doing around Milk with Dignity campaign to organize for more human rights on farms and where migrant workers are working. And in strategic writing, we also have service learning opportunities going on where students are working directly to produce journalism and writing for public-facing organizations. And this semester, they're working with an international news organization called Global Voices, where students in strategic writing are writing pitches, outlines, conducting interviews to publish these articles in an international news outlet. So that leads to the final point, just about what these kind of classes, what kind of careers these classes can lead to. A lot of them can lead to careers in journalism, also marketing and strategic communication, how you identify a public that you want to reach, how you change people's mind, move them to take action, buy a product, make a donation. And this obviously has a lot of applicability in the nonprofit sector, marketing, public relations, advocacy, journalism, a lot of different great career opportunities coming out of these classes.
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, so again, I set this agenda without too much. I didn't think too hard, and because I knew I could rely on the fact that this would happen. And so now I'm hearing this wonderful thread about the transdisciplinary nature of what we do. And as if you're attending this or watching this later, you see the varied fields that our faculty focus on and have focused on, and that they all can touch each other because of how dynamic communities and societies are and require all sorts of different skills, ways of thinking, systems thinking, different approaches to similar problems to complement each other and sort of fit the puzzle together to really create a solution. We also heard from Ben on his work with international, a focus on international topics and social movements in his journalism. And next up, we have Thomas DeSisto, who works a lot in our department with international development in some of the travel courses. So I'll turn it over to Thomas to talk a little more about that.
Thanks, Dan. Nice to see all of you here today. And thanks for taking the time to chat with us. My name's Thomas DeSisto, and I'm a senior lecturer here in CDAE, although I've been here in a lot of different capacities. I started off at UVM as an undergraduate student and found CDAE through a variety of different sources. One was through the CALS Foundation courses. I'll just mention Tom Patterson as one person. I took his speech class, I believe it was my sophomore year, and he really just captured my energy and imagination and appreciation. And then I went on. I loved the collaboration and the teamwork that I saw occurring among the faculty members in CDAE. The other departments I was involved with as an undergrad were excellent and great people, but it all felt very siloed and separate, and that everyone was sort of working in their own box, and that did not seem the case at all when I got here. the things that I've been working on now for the last 7 or 8 years as a senior lecturer are this intersection between community development, engagement, research, and technology. And technology, not just as in like AirPods or iPhones, but really the application of knowledge for a practical purpose. So identifying what the right technology is for the problem that is facing us, and what knowledge and tools can we use to get at that. Just as a little going back in time story, I think the thing that prepared me for CDAE was when I was in middle school. Once we were given this science project where we had to, I think it was like reporting about cells, and the assignment was given, and everyone else in the class went and created a poster. And the day of the presentation comes and everyone has a poster, and then they come to me and I have no poster behind me, and I have a stack of floppy disks because it was a while ago. And I had written a computer program, and I had booked time in our computer lab, and we all, middle schoolers, walked down the hallway, and we all had to put these floppy disks in the computer. And it really like connected with me that there's other ways we can get these messages across and these things across. And probably no one else is going to remember this poster that someone saw, but they're all going to remember going down and playing a game that one of their classmates wrote. And so I just saw that these tools could be really powerful. And when I got to CDAE, it gave me the opportunity to use tools in an interesting way. Dan mentioned abroad courses, and one of the things that I've been really fortunate to have been involved with over the last more than a decade is a course, CDAE 186, Small Island Developing States, St. Lucia. Typically, we take between 18 and 20 students abroad during the winter break, which won't be happening this year, but we look forward to starting up again as soon as possible. And in that situation, we're really using all of these tools. We're using research and technology to help the community in the villages that we're working do what they're hoping to do, to build a different, maybe better place for themselves to live and to work and to thrive. And so that's always just really exciting. As Dan mentioned, the thing that's always great for me every morning about working in CDAE with the faculty, staff, and students is that collaboration between all three, faculty, staff, and students. And I do think it's so unique and exciting. I think I'll just close on, I just happened to get an email last night from a former student who went with me to St. Lucia. She took the CALS technology course with me. She took research methods with me, and went to St. Lucia, and then took the locally focused development class. So quite a few classes. And she's now, after 4 years of being out of school, now looking to go back into graduate school, applying to some really interesting schools. But her resume stood out to me because for 2 years after graduating, she worked for one of the major tech companies in Silicon Valley as a community organizer. That was the job title that she had. And so all of you have used this tech company service, I'm sure of that, and did all sorts of data analysis and community building related to that job. And then after 2 years, became an employee at a think tank in the Bay Area. And again, is using all these tools around community and climate change, and using things like SPSS and Excel and all the sorts of things that we teach here in CDAE. And so just to, when people think of like, where can I go and what can I do with this? Well, this person who just emailed me last night, right, went out and worked in a major tech hub in this country. And so that's always really exciting to me to see how that trajectory plays out. So again, thanks for being here. And if any questions come up, I'd be happy to chat more.
Thanks, Thomas. Yeah, so we certainly have that. Again, we keep talking about the breadth of experiences and skills and approaches, and it's, you also practice and condition and sharpen how to think and how to approach a problem. And I'm thinking back to when Matt said, the biggest thing people look for when they're hiring you is how to solve a problem. And then you read those. I've read a book, or like there's trivia that comes up. It's like, this big tech company, whatever it is going to ask you, like, you're 5 inches tall and you're in a blender, how do you get out? They're not actually thinking like, how do you get out of a blender? They want to see you think through the process. And that's a lot of the skills you practice in CDAE. How do I think outside the box? What does it mean to be, that's short and in a blender in an unrealistic situation? But watch my process and let me talk through and show you how I've been practicing and how the people around me think, and like how I was able to absorb and sort of reflect on how to solve a problem in real time, whether it's something I've heard of before or something I've never heard of before, like a fantastical scenario that they're placing you in. So again, these are the sort of central themes that keep coming up, but through different angles, different windows, different perspectives, and on different topics in our transdisciplinary sort of spectrum. Great. Another, see, just natural segues. This wasn't even, scripted, but we're going to move into, we have two students with us today, Chloe and Autumn, and I just have Chloe up first. Again, we'll probably see how this shakes out in our order, but I'll turn it over to Chloe to chat a little bit about being a student and that experience in our department.
Yeah, hi everyone. It's been so fun to hear from all of my past professors and everyone. So thanks for having me. I'm super excited. Kind of how I found my way here. I did kind of a roundabout sort of way. I took a travel course like Thomas was talking about. And I went to Nepal in fall of 2018. And it was super random. I had no idea what CDAE meant at all. I was a transfer student to UVM. And when I went on that, I met so many amazing people who are still my best friends today, which is super awesome. And I've loved that. And I also learned a ton about how international development fits into what I want to do when I graduate and how I can kind of fit into that field through that travel course. And then when I got home, I went to Dan Kirk and I was like, Dan, how do I get into CDAE? And he set me up with a bunch of different classes for my semester after I took that travel course. And I took 002, World Food Population and Development, and I just fell in love with the course content with that. I just really figured out what I wanted to do with my career with that, and I really loved the material in that class. So that helped me kind of build my courses for the next couple of years in CDAE, and kind of why I chose my major. So I was first interested in the international aspects of CDAE, but I then realized that I'm actually really interested in the local community sort of part of CDAE. And that really came with taking 102 with Kelly, because I really learned how building locally and then going globally from there can really have a huge impact on communities. And then I also wanted to be in the CDAE department because I could learn a lot of really tangible skills, and also a wide range of tangible skills. And that would help me, once I graduated from UVM, kind of have whatever kind of job that I wanted to do, even if I had not wanting to do an international or community aspect when I graduated. And I also really wanted to meet friends and meet people who had kind of similar interests that I did, which I totally did. I know Autumn and I met one of my first semesters at UVM, and Autumn's one of my really close friends now. So it's been so nice to meet people who have really similar interests. And I also really love the research part of the major. So I really wanted to focus on qualitative research throughout my time here, and I really enjoy doing research and actually work with Matt Dugan on an internship researching values in the CDAE department and how we can market those values. And that was a huge part of me realizing that I think I want to do research once I graduate. And then in my CDA courses, also, I love learning the tangible skills. I'm taking a service learning class with Kelly right now, and I get to actually experience the skills that I have been building over these past years in that class with the service learning aspect. Oh, thanks, Matt. I see that in the chat. And yeah, we're doing interviews, surveys, and practicing research skills, which has been super great for when I graduate, and I can actually put that on my resume and say, look at what I did in this class, and I can use this in an actual job. And then also a lot of the classes I've been in, all of my professors have brought in outside people to talk in our classes and just tell us a little bit about what they're actually doing in the field. And I think that has been a huge aspect of me enjoying my classes and actually seeing what people are doing in the field, so I can kind of base what I want to do off of them as well. And they're also really great connections for when I graduate too. And then also the travel courses, as Thomas was talking about again, I took 2. So I went to Nepal and Ecuador, and both of those were really amazing ways to learn about the international aspects of community development. And it also helped me meet a lot of great people in the CDAE department. And kind of with my career goals, I'm graduating in December, which is exciting and scary. And I want to go into community organizing in some way, hopefully in public policy and also with climate change. But actually learning how people organize has been so beneficial to me in this department, and learning how people actually connect to their local communities and solve problems has been really important. And also the research skills in all of my classes have been great, but also kind of just connecting to local communities in an actual real life setting has been amazing, and the service learning classes really help with that as well. As for class content, it's always great to connect to the real world, and I feel like every single class I've taken in CDAE really connects to real world aspects and helps me connect to what's actually going on in the real world. Something I love about CDAE is that every single professor I've had has been so passionate about what they teach, and they are really there to help you through any problems you have in the class or any questions, and they really create many communities, I think. I've gotten to know so many students in my classes and so many of my professors so well just because they're so passionate about creating a sense of care and belonging in their classes, and that has really been so beneficial for me throughout my time in CDAE. And then group projects are also really fun. We do that a lot in CDAE. But some of my favorite parts of CDAE, I love obviously getting to connect with all of the amazing people in this department. But also professors are really there to see you win and see you hit all of your goals. And I think that's been something that's been really special about being in CDAE, is getting to make those connections with professors. And again, just the passion. No CDAE majors here just because they want to be here and they want to learn, and they want to learn the best way they can. So it's been really special to be a part of this department. I'm definitely sad to graduate in the fall, but I think I'm really lucky to have been here. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Chloe. Yeah, the student experience is the glue that holds our department together in a lot of ways. Our faculty go out and do research in their fields, but the conversation around how to teach and what you're teaching. Oh, what are you teaching? Cross-pollinating, bringing, like Chloe said, bringing in practitioners and each other into the classroom to talk about how they might all affect a result or a solution to the problem that you might be tackling in the class. I also, as Chloe was speaking, Chloe even reminded me of a trip that, I've been here for a little while, so I was writing down all the places I could, that the classes we teach within our department. So, CDA students, of course, just like any student at UVM, have the opportunity to go abroad through the study abroad programs that are available to all of our students. And we have, inside our curriculum, we've built travel courses, and this isn't what's all available at the moment, especially under travel restrictions with COVID, but in the past we've gone to Puerto Rico, Kenya, Nepal, Honduras, Peru, Brazil, I can't even read my handwriting, Ecuador, and I mean there's more. I obviously wrote something and I can't even read what I wrote, but those opportunities are available to be in the classroom throughout the semester and learn whatever whether it's food systems, international development, community development, whatever the topic is in the classroom, and then go put the skills and ideas and thoughts into practice on the travel experience, whether that's over winter break or summer break. So those opportunities, those count for your requirements in our major. They're with faculty whom you've already connected, trust, and built relationships with students that are in your program. So it really allows for a greater synergy between you all as a working group, and also, the experience can really build a nice sort of fabric woven approach to what you're learning and how to apply it. So our last presenter, Autumn, another student in our department. Go ahead, Autumn. Thanks.
Thanks, Dan. I'm excited to be here today. Like Chloe, I was trying to think of things to say, and they just keep coming out. There's so many good aspects of being a part of this department. And I guess I'll say that, like Chloe, I didn't start as a CDAE major. I came to UVM as a global studies major, and then I took 002 with Dan Tobin my freshman year. And I think, like so many others, I just really was interested in the course content and realized that this is some of the most applicable topics and issues that I've learned about so far at UVM. So I decided to change my major the end of freshman year. And then I kind of just have really tried to dive into so many different opportunities that CDAE offers. Last fall, I went on the St. Lucia travel study course with Thomas and Kevin, and that was amazing to just kind of put together everything I've learned through the core courses my freshman and sophomore year to as a junior coming out with the strong research project, the skills to present, the skills to complete intercultural communication. I think that it was really important to have, and we're so privileged in the department to have the opportunity to kind of showcase all the skills that we've been building for many years before we become upperclassmen. Another thing that makes CDE so unique in my mind is how flexible that it is. A lot of my other friends at UVM don't have the option to have a Choose 7 course like CID majors like myself do. And I really tried to take advantage of the flexibility to take as many different classes as I could. Something else that I think I really like doing in my time at in the department is TAing. I TA'd with Kelly and 166 with Trisha. And it really made a difference for me learning the material and then coming back and grading it and teaching the others. And I feel like I really have a mastery of a lot of the subjects because I was able to continue moving forward with it. Something else that I made part of my Choose 7 courses is an internship like Chloe. Allie was really helpful in kind of narrowing down something that would fit my interests. And I ended up interning for a nonprofit for a year. And now I'm an alum assistant for the same program for my senior year this year. And I think that because CDE is so focused on giving us the tools to succeed in the outside world, they make it, they encourage you and make it easy to take advantage of programs and companies and things that are already happening outside and make that count towards your major. They make it really easy for you to say, hey, I'm interested in this. How can we make this work? How can we make this fit? And I think that that's something that really makes my experience stand out compared to my friends who may be in similar majors like global studies, for example, but they don't have the same opportunities that we do in CDAE. So it's kind of a roundabout way to say, but I am a community and international development major, and I'm a senior as well as Chloe, and I'm going to be graduating in May. And I like CDAE so much that I decided to stay, and I'm pursuing my accelerated master's in public administration. So hopefully I'll have my master's by May of 2022. And I think that something that makes the department so unique and different than learning similar material anywhere else is that we have so many adjunct professors and other resources from the community who are willing to come in and help out and share their real world experience from their day jobs. For example, last spring, I took a community organization class with Kevin Stapleton, and it was just really valuable to learn from the perspective of someone who isn't every day in academia and isn't normally situated inside a UVM day in, day out. So I think that's an important resource that we have here too. There's so many things to say, but I guess one last thing is that even though it seems like there's so many different things going on, I think that's really a big asset to classes, especially when I was doing core courses like 102 or 24, being paired up in group partners or study groups with people who aren't necessarily my major or other people who want to investigate CDAE. I think it was really beneficial to see like, oh, you're a PCOM major, but we have this interest in common, or I think it's really interesting how we're the same major, but you are so invested in other things that I haven't even thought of yet. So I think that besides the flexibility and range of the coursework and the flexibility and range of the different students we have makes us a really strong, interesting department as well. And I think that's it.
Thanks, Autumn. That's great. I'm just jotting down a few sort of pull together notes. I'm so glad you brought up internships, and I want to also call back to Chloe speaking about service learning. In CDAE, we are always looking over the next wave. So things like service learning, which have now sort of graduated into their own office at UVM, are something we've been doing the entire time that our department has existed. We've always thought that there's some real value, huge value to be paired up with community organizations or practitioners doing this work, and again, doing it through a classroom setting. So guided learning in an applied environment. So service learning and internships are part of our program in whatever way you kind of want as a student. You can bring in internships to count towards your requirements. Allie, as Autumn mentioned, is our internship coordinator, and every week sends out a wonderful list of internships, whether remote or in person, in our area, that allow you to start to refine whether you not or not you choose from that list and choose to apply to something in that list. You start to get a feel for the fields and the types of organizations that align with CDAE, which is certainly broad. I also wanted to focus and bring into the conversation the advisor-advisee relationship. So Chloe was talking a lot about the flexibility we have. And what she was talking about is each of our majors has a section of your requirements where you choose whether 2, 4, or 7 classes that fit your vision for what you want to get out of UVM, what you want to get out of a career, whether that's super wide, you want to cast a wide net and explore, or you want to focus in on something. Your advisor is there to help you create that path. And our advising, we take it very seriously in CDAE, and it just, again, community is in our name, and community is what we do. So the availability of our faculty advisors, so those are the instructors and the faculty of our department, as well as Allie and myself, who are our staff advisors. So we both act as sort of the intake and sort of set you up aspect of your advising, and also sort of as your overflow advising if your advisors, say, on parental leave or on travel or on sabbatical, or you just want to meet with a different perspective and say, like, oh, like, I heard you're involved with this. Can we talk about that? That's available to our students as well. So while it may feel overwhelming to be like, oh, whoa, I have to choose my own classes, it's really more of an opportunity to connect and refine your interests or explore other interests with the help of your dedicated faculty advisor. So with that, I think we can open it up to questions. If I'm going to hit pause on the recording, and we can just open it up. So if folks want to jump in with their camera or jump in the chat, that's all great. And I see Matt has a question.